Namaskaram and howdy y'all. So the other day I made a couple of posts. One was about samskaras and vasanas. So samskaras are like these imprints that have been made on our like spiritual mind, intellect or DNA. And vasanas are like these reactionary behaviors or tendencies, right, to certain stimuli. So every time we react to a certain stimuli, person, substance, activity, whatever, it reinforces these imprints, right? So they work together. I also made a written post that was reviewing a video by, I believe her name is Lise LeBlanc. She is a female therapist that works with men worldwide who have unfortunately found themselves in a relationship, a serious relationship with a narcissistic woman. Um, and you all know that like I try to be very careful about labeling people a like legit narcissist. That personality disorder, like many others, is not like super common, and the way people just willy-nilly throw it out, it's like, gosh, it seems like 70% of the world population is a narcissist. No, narcissistic, yes, and we're going in a trend that is very unhealthy. So we will find more and more narcissists, like true narcissists, because that behavior and those like thought processes will get reinforced if this kind of crap continues. But when I watched that video, I was like, I had this moment where I just was like, I think I have to really accept something about my history with certain women. I am falling for women that are narcissistic, and I get into these relationships where I suffer that kind of abuse. And because of my childhood trauma and issues, growing up in a very unstable, chaotic environment, a lot more to that. A lot of things have happened in my childhood. I am, it's like I'm trying to find people that mirror that, but not understanding at the time that the reason for that, couple things. One, I am trying to find those people that mirror what I need to work on so then I can undo the vasanas and samskaras, right? No, but you have to be aware. You have to be cognizant in order. If you're getting into a situation like that, you have to be aware that it's going to come to a really abrupt stop right away because you're trying to stop doing that behavior. You're trying to stop yourself having that certain perspective and thought process. But most people just fall right into it and repeat the cycle, a vicious cycle. The other reason is just like everybody else and all of our interpersonal connections and interactions, there is some level of a karmic tie. Again, karma doesn't always mean bad, right? But we are often born into certain families and certain communities because we have, excuse me, we have certain karma to resolve and certain lessons to learn, right? So these two things actually tie in really well together. The, reactionary behaviors, tendencies, and imprints, as well as our karmic ties with people. So I gave that example for myself that, especially the most recent relationship that I suffered I was like, holy crap, that woman is, I'm not going to call her, as having narcissistic personality disorder, but where she's at in life is a complete narcissist. And so this is for the men out there who have come from a very troubled, traumatic childhood and find themselves in these unhealthy relationships with women over and over again. Now, it's not to blame the woman like completely, even if she is narcissistic, because you have to take accountability and responsibility for yourself. You are engaging in these behaviors. You're allowing trauma bonding to occur. You're only reinforcing these vasanas and samskaras, these tendencies, reactionary behaviors, and reinforcing the imprints. And you're just going to keep carrying that on. So you got to put a stop to that. You have to catch yourself and be like, whoa, pay attention to those red flags, like I've said many times, and then say, no, don't just be like, oh, okay, I'll keep an eye on it. No, be like, oh, I see that. Okay, I'm just gonna wish you the best, and I'm gonna go this way. Change course, right? But this woman who is very narcissistic, she's probably suffering from her own wounds, and that's why she's behaving like that. But when somebody is keeping you a secret because they're ashamed or embarrassed, um, that's often a sign that they're saying, I have higher standards and I want to make myself available to men that are of a higher caliber, in my opinion. Right? That's what they're thinking. So I don't want them to see me with this kind of guy, because then they think I have low standards, right? Or that I'm taken, and I want to leave myself open for a better source where I'm going to get that validation and adoration and attention and good fun times and being taken care of but respected for my autonomy and independence. That is one reason why they are keeping you hidden. Even if they don't keep you hidden, but they are bad mouthing you to their friends or in front of you jokingly, not a good sign, because again, that means I'm above you and I can do better, right? When they start gaslighting you and making you question reality, when they become a historical revisionist, it was all bullshit. It wasn't real. We weren't really that committed or together. We weren't actually engaged, or whatever. Or this event didn't happen like that. Stop painting it like this. That is a narcissistic person, apologies, trying to protect their image. Again, another reason why they're probably hiding your relationship or downplaying it is because they don't want people to know the truth about them. When they don't take accountability and responsibility, when they lack empathy, and they don't genuinely apologize, they don't recognize their own wrongdoings or bad behaviors, when they don't do that, that is them trying to protect their self-image because they think they're better than that. And anything that tries to poke a hole in that or tarnish that image, that is the biggest threat to a narcissistic person. And that is why they will never take accountability or responsibility. And even if they do, because I've heard this before, they'll put it in a way like, oh, well, I was stupid for, even getting into this relationship, or, like I was stupid for thinking it could work. Or when they make excuses that are basically saying, well, it was my stupidity that let me get with someone like you, that allowed me to allow you to come into my life, right? That's not good. That like, they're still putting the blame on you in the end, right? Like, you are lesser than them, right? Or what they would prefer, who they would prefer. So that is a narcissistic person. And what's happening with you is, oh yeah, the other thing too, when they finally discard you and they, treat you like you're worse than trash, like they need to erase every trace of you. And then they become that historical revisionist, right? Rewriting history, your relationship, which is one of the most awful things I think a person can do, to be honest. And then they follow up with discarding you, right? And move on to somebody else, which they probably, most of the time, most people, but especially a narcissistic person, already has their next preferred supply in line before they fully discard you, right? Because now they have a better supply. Oh, I don't need him anymore. Moving on, right? And then they treat you like, especially if you had a relationship that was long committed, or you weren't just like lovers, but you were like best friends, and then they treat you like you can't even like try to work it out to be like cordial and polite to each other. right? They just want to get absolutely rid of you. Friend, that is a narcissistic person. Maybe a full-blown narcissist, but at the very least, that is a narcissistic person, and you are suffering abuse from them. You legitimately are. Especially when they're claiming anybody that's ever done them wrong, that person's a narcissist. Not them, but that man was a narcissist. And this is one thing I also have found, for the most part, up until recently, the past few years, it's been majority men are narcissists. No, humans are both susceptible to it. And now with this false sense of empowerment for women and other groups of people, that's only getting worse. So, no, women, and I've said this in the post, usually when there's abuse, it's very, like, from a man towards a woman, it's very obvious and egregious, like everybody can see it plain as day. Women, when they abuse men, it's not so obvious. You don't see it right away, but it leaves just as damaging scars. I'm telling you right now, it absolutely does. And our legal system favors women more when there's a divorce and whatnot. By far, it favors women more. Okay? Men get a lot of men, and I'm not saying all men are blameless. No, there's a lot of men that are like selfish, self-centered, verbally abusive, emotionally abusive, spiritual. Like, I don't doubt that. I know that. I've seen that in my line of work. And personally. So I know that. I'm not saying that. But there are a lot of men out there who get really fucked over in divorces. And what's even scarier is when you do have a narcissistic parent and that parent gets majority custody of the kids. Holy crap. That is very scary, especially when it's a woman, because again, it's not obvious to everybody that she's the one that's actually just as or more abusive in that toxic relationship that is now ending. And sometimes it's not like Lise LeBlanc says, it's these narcissistic women that are like almost completely the ones at fault for the divorce. And these men are just devastated, and they're often like robbed, completely robbed of the kids and the money and the resources. So I'm pointing this out because it does need to be said. And anybody that truly knows me knows that I'm a lover. I do love people, but I'm like also a pessimist because I just don't see things going in a good way. And I've felt that way since I was a little kid. I could see it. And I love women, and like I am, as a Hindu, I worship the Devis, the goddesses. Right? I am like, man, I seriously, like, the goddesses are, nothing can exist without them. They're like the battery for all these cool, like, masculine gods, right? Like, without, it's like having a monster truck, right, with no gas or battery. It just sits there. It's useless. It looks cool, but it can't do anything. Shakti, that female divine energy, is what powers it powers all of reality and creation. So I don't want, and this is one, this ex of mine became very anti-religious, like all religions, because of her feeling abused by the patriarchy and Abrahamic, like Christian, like her Christian faith, former faith. And then became very interested in Hinduism because of me, and then eventually just started hating that too. Started saying it was very toxic and it was still part of the patriarchy. I'm sorry, Sanatana Dharma is not a patriarchy. There are certain groups out there within India and worldwide that have become like that. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, they've corrupted that. But traditionally at the core, no. The goddess is so revered. All the goddesses are revered, right? And women are too. So I don't hate women. I don't hate a certain group of people. I do hate a trend that I'm seeing in certain behaviors and attitudes and perspectives. 100%. And see it in men too. I'm just pointing this out because it is becoming a big problem. And now that I'm realizing, like, holy crap, I my most toxic relationships in my life have been with women where they're very narcissistic and they use me up because I give them raw, unfiltered love, respect, loyalty, a lot of attention, adoration. I give them multiple chances when they've done wrong to make amends. And even when they've really devastated me, like, I'll be like, oh, well, like, I know there's good in you. I'm sharing this openly with you because I know that there are people out there who will resonate with this. And it's me not just trying to expose my wounds and be like, oh, woe is me, like, ugh, poor me. No, like, I chose to get into those relationships. And those were lessons for me to learn. And this last one, woo-wee, it was a doozy. Like, it brought me to my knees. Like, to a very, very, very dark place. So I know that there are other people, men and women, who will resonate with this. Those are situations where you are being mirrored what you need to learn and what you need to heal. And it's exposing those vasanas and those samskaras. It's exposing the karma that you need to learn from and resolve. Don't break the cycle, break the chains of that bondage. Be free yourself of that. And guess what? You're teaching that other person too. Don't think that, like, this person's, if they're a narcissistic person that was abusing you, your love, your respect, your loyalty, that they're getting off scot-free. No. Their karma's coming to them. And even if they seem to live like this great life that's fun and full of, like, fun times and stability, trust me, dog, their karma, like, there will come a time where they have to pay the piper. It will happen. And that is all bullshit, by the way. What's funny is when a narcissistic person says, oh, our love was all, bullshit. I deluded myself into thinking that you and I could work, right? And then they go, like, to somebody better. That's what's fantasy. That's what's delusional. Like, they're just digging that grave even deeper for them to crawl out of later. It's going to be harder. So take pride that you're catching yourself now and you're trying to rectify all these things. So then you can be stable. You can progress. You can find true joy, which isn't being like, again, sunshine, rainbows, roses, milk and honey. No, true joy is being able to handle the highs and the lows equally, right? Because it's all temporary. It's all fleeting. And this life is not the ultimate reality. So I just want you to, for all of you out there that have found yourselves in trauma bonds, and that's one thing that I will say is I want to talk about. Trauma bonding works in your brain. The neurochemistry is you get hits of dopamine and then cortisol. And, I would even say oxytocin as well, like with, the love moments, like after you make love or you're cuddling, exchanging all these really emotional, like, beautiful things, right? It's just, ooh, man, it's a roller coaster. And your brain gets addicted to that. And that is just like with substances or gambling. It is very, very similar. And there's a lot of research with scans and all that proves that it is very similar. For all of you that are suffering from trauma bonds and that addiction to limerence, I'm not saying that your love isn't real for this person. I know mine, for these women, 100% real and authentic. I know that. It's very real. And that's why it also hurts. Because it is real for you. Not for them, maybe. That really sucks. That even hurts more because you thought it was real. There was this period, a honeymoon period, that may have lasted a year, 2 years, or more. And then all of a sudden, just a flip gets switched. Or a switch gets flipped. There we go. And they're like a different person. Like, what the fuck happened to this person? Like, oh, they're just going through a hard time, right? Oh, they've had so much upheaval and whatnot. No, I mean that's part of it, and that is probably what's fueling the narcissistic behavior because they're in denial. They don't want to face up to certain things. 100%. But no, it doesn't excuse their behaviors, especially if they're persistent and consistent. It doesn't excuse that. But what's happening with you is that you're getting this, like, it's mimicking probably your childhood, right? Most people that are in trauma bonds have a troubling childhood. So it's mimicking that. And that's one of the reasons why you're drawn to it in the first place. So you're trying to reenact that because that's what you know, first of all. And two, deep down, if you're not aware of this, again, this is what I said earlier in the video. If you're not aware and cognizant of why you're getting into it, you're not going to solve it. But that's why you're getting yourself into it, because this broken child archetype in you is trying to find the love that it didn't, the care, the stability, the consistency, the routine, all that. It's trying to find that in what it knows, a dysfunctional relationship, a dysfunctional home. So you're not going to get that, especially with these people. And even with someone that's beautifully stable and loving and respectful and loyal, that's good. That's what we should aim for if we want to be in a relationship. But you have to find that self-love, that self-respect, that reaffirms your boundaries. You have to find that in yourself first. You can't do that with other people, especially broken, unavailable people like that. You're just making it worse for yourself, and you're enabling those people to keep doing their garbage behavior. That does not uphold dharma. For yourself, for them, for the world. It doesn't. So now that I'm saying all this to you, right, you're seeing that this is like this addiction. It is going to be a lot of work. I'm not going to lie to you. It's a lot of work. It could even take your lifetime. That's okay. You're working on it now. And you're setting the foundations for something so much more beautiful in the future. Okay? The juice is worth the squeeze when it comes to this. Stop trying to squeeze fresh juice out of fruit that is rotten. Stop. Don't do that. You're going to get sick. Okay? It's putrid. Stay away. Focus on undoing your reactionary behaviors. There's a lot of things out there that will help you with breaking that addiction, right? Like, doing a lot of exercise, like within reason, like, intense exercises, even doing like certain breathing exercises. There's a lot in Hinduism and yoga to learn from, right? Taking cold showers, things like that, right? Eating healthier, getting more into your hobbies, therapy, like with a good therapist, right? Right association, meaning people that are also striving and working really hard to like attain a stable, happier, successful, healthier life, but also ones that have gone through what you have gone through and are already there, so you can learn from them and emulate them, get tips and guidance from them. But then right association with your goals in life, whether it's career, financial, like family, whatever. All these things are important and they will help you, and you will fall at times, and that's okay. That's a moment for you to catch yourself again and be like, I got this. I'm going to resist this urge to reach out to her or to go back and look at this or that, or try to understand it. Friend, the closure, they gave you closure already. It's not the closure you wanted and you hoped for. Trust me, I get that. The disrespect, the lack of empathy, the sudden change in like, I love you to I don't love you. It was all BS. All of that was your closure. It was. So accept that. Learn to accept it. Learn to accept that you are worth more than that. You don't need to subject yourself to that. And you need to take accountability for yourself and not allow yourself to become so unhealthy. And then, because that affects other people, not just them, not just you, but other people around you. Be the more whole version of yourself, the authentic version of yourself. Blessings to you all. This was a longer video. I'll try to make it into a short as well, but I hope you like it. Blessings to you all.